All right, welcome back again. This is a continuation of a training series that we had started. So the training course is training on data management and data visualization using Microsoft Power BI. So in this session, we are going to look at how to connect or how to integrate different data sources in different areas, different platforms, and just be able to aggregate all of them into one storage center inside Power BI, all right? And also, we're also going to see the different ways we are able to interlink different systems and different data sources with Power BI so that we are able to keep a near real-time connection with the different data sources. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to show you this today, and let's start. Thank you. My name's Daniel Nangelo. All right, so this is going to be our case study. This is our assignment. This is our task. We should be able to build this. Now, this dashboard has its data sitting somewhere inside my SharePoint. And if you look at this technically, let me just open it so that we can have a quick overview of this. So the first activity will be to link this database, this Excel-based database inside SharePoint into our Power BI application so that we are able to do data ETL, transformation, analysis, and reporting inside Power BI. All right, so this is the database. It's Excel-based, just a normal spreadsheet. Let's see what we have here. So the first field here, you can see is the farmer code. We also have the date of registration. We have the consent. So technically, maybe something about this database, something you need to know. This data was actually designed inside the Kobo toolbox. And then the data was actually interlinked into an Excel workbook. And then the Excel workbook was uploaded into SharePoint, all right? So from SharePoint, as new data is coming in from Kobo Toolbox, we push it directly into SharePoint, all right? And then from SharePoint, every time we want to update, we can go in there, but we have also set up automatic query refresh that's able to update this whenever we open it or at certain points in time. And then the data is usually now, from there, the data is pushed into Power BI, where we can now clean it further, transform it, analyze it, and visualize our data and present it in form of reports and dashboards. All right, so a quick overview of how our data looks like so that we are able to understand what we need to do. So this is actually a farmer database. It's an agri, it's a demo data that will just help us understand how you can use Power BI or how you can build Power BI dashboards in support of M&E processes for agricultural value chain projects. All right. All right. So we had seen that we have the farmer code, the date of registration, the consent, the date of farmer. I think this is date of birth. We have the gender. We have the marital status. The farmer code is unique. It's very unique. Each farmer has a unique farmer code or identifier. There are those who call it ID. You can call it any name, but it has to be a unique identifier. So one of the things that we recommend is that your data, the different records that you have in here should have a way or to uniquely identify it. All right, so we can proceed. You can see we have district, parish, village. This is basically just location data. And then we have, we had another type here to identify whether they have legal age, the national ID. We have the education, highest level of education for this farmer beneficiary. And then we have this dimension here, access to water for farming. And then we have number of household members, all right? And then we also have the main crop. So this farmer that has been registered to this project, what type of value chain are they cultivating or are they involved in, right? So we call it here main crop, but you can still call it value chain. It will all depend with how your program decides to call them. Then we have the number of fields that actually the farmer has that are actually dedicated to the growing of vanilla or this main crop, all right? So we have a number of them. We have vanilla, we have pineapple, we have coffee Arabica, and the list is endless, all right? I think it's around the 5 value chain crops. And then we have the field description, we have the farm size or the main crop farm size. So this is in acres, and you can see this one here has 1.3, and based on how the surveyor was able to measure that line. Now, if you are coming in from ODK, COBO, or Survey CTO, anything that has to do with you capturing data using mobile technologies, things like ODK, all right? We have functionality that can help you map out your fields, your farm fields, and even be able to auto-calculate this size during your survey visit to the farm. And then we have here the total number of main crop plants. All right, so we can see here we have 200 for 2,000 for this farmer, and the list is goes on like that, as you can see. And then here we have the number of non-productive crops, and we also have the number of productive crops. So you can see this one here has 1,200, while productive has 800. So this is an issue here. So we might want to find out how we can help this farmer. All right. So because even this one here and even this one here, this one doesn't look, this one is doing better, this one is doing much better. And then we have weeds control. These are some of the other different metrics that we want to look at, or the dimensions of our project. Weeds control on the field, you can see we have average, good, and bad. We also have, maybe we can do activate the filter. All right. So we also have erosion. Erosion control on the field. We have mulching done on the field, mulching of the main crop or the value chain crop, shade provided for the value chain, pruning of the crop value chain plants. We also have fresh manure being applied directly to the field. It's either yes or no. We have any pests and diseases on the field. We have a yes and no. We have the type of pest and disease if they say yes. All right, so you can see here there's a skip logic here. All right, so if you say no, then you don't get to tell us about the pest. But if you say yes, then tell us about the pest and disease that have been discovered on the field. Or observed. Use of organic fertilizer, you can also, that's another dimension. So we have yes or no. If you tell us yes, you tell us about the organic fertilizer that you are using. And then you also have surveyor comments. All right, so if you look here, this can be multiple select questions, and also this can be multiple select question. This yes and no, these are just usually single select questions, so their analysis is straightforward. And then you can also have here the theoretical location of the farmer's field. So we have the latitude and longitude here, all right? So please, this is just dummy data just to help us understand how you can build these systems. So there it is. So I already have the data, all right? In my previous video, I've shown you how to work, or how you can, if you're having platforms like COBO, how you can link them and have your databases sitting inside SharePoint, and then from there, how you can take these databases so that you can link them into PowerBI. All right? Yes. All right, so the first thing, this will now entail how do we link workbooks or spreadsheet files that are inside SharePoint to our Power BI. So the first thing that you need to do is to open your SharePoint and navigate to where your file is. All right. So the first one here, I had opened it using the browser. All right. So the next thing that you need to do is just you can either use here. Right click on these three dots here. Just if you click on these three dots, you should be able to see a number of options here. All right. So this process also works where not only for SharePoint, but also if you have OneDrive Business. All right, we have OneDrive Business and we have OneDrive Personal. So OneDrive Business and SharePoint usually share the same functionalities, especially when you're linking it with Power BI. For OneDrive Personal, it's a little bit different because of the limitations. So we're also going to see also how to do that. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you have access to your SharePoint. You can open it inside the browser, right? And then these three ellipses, just come and select Open in App. So when you select Open in App, what it does is going to launch your Excel, your desktop Excel application. So I'm going to click this, and then you're going to see Excel here is going to launch. It's going to prompt me here. I'll just say Open Excel. Now, whenever you are whenever you want to configure data refresh for your dashboard, you want to build a very dynamic, near real-time dashboard, then we recommend that your data should sit somewhere in a cloud-based environment. All right, it should be online for some sort of reason for it to be able to really work well with Power BI. All right. So that's why we are choosing. You can choose, I've chosen SharePoint. You can also have OneDrive. You can also have Google Drive. It all depends with what platform is applicable to you. There are those who use other platforms like Box. Feel free. We also even have this other like Smartsheet. Power BI is also able to help you just connect into these platforms. So let's see how far. Right, so I'm not going to do much here. I'll just go directly. What I need is to get a link that will help me connect my SharePoint Excel file into Power BI desktop. So the first thing after you've opened it inside Excel is to go to File. All right. Under File, you are going to find we have this option here that says Info. All right. Just click on Info, and then you should be able to have this type of interface. All right. So what we are looking here, we are going to go with copy path. All right. So when you click on copy path, it's going to get a link for us. And I can just type this link here, and you can see it's going to read something here, also all this jargon, and then at some point you are going to see that you have .xlsx (web equals to 1. All right. So at this point, what all you need is just to get rid of this part up to where XLS ends. All right. So just copy this. This is the link that we need. So any modifications we're going to do inside our SharePoint file, any collaboration, as the database is, as the database is evolving, it's all those changes also going to be streamed down into our Power BI dashboards. All right. And it's also going to reflect the same in here. So the first thing that I'm here inside the Power BI desktop. The next thing that you need to do is now we had said that the workflow is you connect to data, you import it. This is where you have the ETL processes. You extract, transform, and load. And then from there, under ETL processes, we are going to see a number of procedures that we can also utilize to clean your data. And once your data is in the shape that you require it to be, you can load it into Power BI. And then from there, you can do other analysis, calculations, design and visualization and reporting of what your data is communicating or saying. All right, so there we go. Right, so you go into your Power BI interface, get to the Get Data under the Home tab, select the Get Data icon, and select the Web option. Paste in the URL, the one that you have modified, and then select OK. All right, so the next thing that comes in here will be this pop-up window. You have a number of options. What you are looking for is the organizational account. All right, the organizational account. All right, if you are on Kobo, then you will use something like basic. If you're on Google Drive, use anonymous. All right. So in here, just select sign in, and this should be a username that has access to this particular file. So I'm just going to select sign in, and then it's going to prompt you to provide the email or the account name associated with this, with your SharePoint, and then you need to you're also going to provide your password. All right, good. So there we are. I'll just go, I think this is it, capacity AppComs. And then select connect. Right, it's going to try and establish a connection. So as this process is happening, you need to have internet connectivity. All right, SharePoint is cloud-based, so you need to have internet connectivity when you're connecting to it. All right, so we have here access to that file, and you can see it has one sheet here, says farmer. So just highlight it, or you can just click on this checkbox, and it's going to give you a preview of how your data table looks like. All right, so you can just review and see whether it is the way you had hoped it to be, and then once you're satisfied, you can click on transform so that you take it into Power Query that will enable you do follow up with the ETL processes, especially when it comes to data cleaning and transformation. Okay, so inside the Power Query, there are a number of things you can do. The most important one is usually data transformation and data cleaning. All right, so step number one, or activity number one, or process number one that you need to check out on are the data types. All right, so inside the Power Query, you are going to see that we have this interface here. All right, this is the menu. All this is the menu with the different options. You have the home, transform, add, column, view, tools, and help. We're going to look at each one by one, and then you can see it's partitioned into query settings and applied settings. So here is the name of your table. You can always rename it to fit what you would like it to look like. I can say this is the farmer database, and give it like that, farmer database, or just farmer. And then we have applied steps. So every process you are applying on this, every data cleaning process and transformation is being tracked here under applied steps, right? So if you have data coming in from different sources, you should be able to also see it listed here. So this is where your different tables are going to be listed. So for it to be active, you have to first select on the table of interest, and then here, this interface here will update to actually reflect what is stored on your table structure for this data table. All right, so how do we data types? All right, the first thing that you want to look at is the data types. All right, so by default, Power BI has AI, and the AI will try and help you determine the appropriate data types based on the first 1,000 rows. Right, so you can see here under farmer code, it has assigned, this is actually should be general. So now on each of these headers, I want to see that we have this drop down icon. This one allows you to filter, right? And then in here, this is a header. By double clicking inside this field header, column header, you are able to actually rename this to the way you'll like it to be. So I'll just call it farmer code. And then here we can even call this date of registration. All right. So and then consent is there. Date of birth. I can just call this. We also have gender. So just by right clicking inside here, you're able to rename it to whatever you like it to be. All right. So once you have that, the second thing is to look at the data types. So every individual column has a unique data type. All right, you cannot have more than one data type per column. Right, so every column is assigned one data type, and that is why we say the data that is being stored inside one column should be similar. All right, so this is how we do it. There are two ways you can actually achieve this. Number one is by selecting your column and going to transform and finding where you have data type. Currently, it's showing us text here, right? Under the transform tab here, under text here. So you can switch it between text to any other format that you like it to be, right? Like, for example, right now, you can see it's already assigned text. So that one is okay. The second way you can also do this is on your column here, like here, this date of registration. Click on these icons. You can see we have certain icons that are just in front of the field names. So like here it's showing us a calendar. Just click on it. It will give you a drop down of all the supported data types that you can do. Like for this, I can change this into text, and you can see it changes into text. And then I can also flip it back to date, just like that. And then it will ask me, you can say just replace current. And you can see whatever I'm doing here is also actually tracking here. All right. Now, for every step, you can see what was done. Like if I came here under renamed columns, it will tell me what columns I renamed. All right, you can see here farmer code to farmer code, date of registration to date of registration, farmer date of birth to just date of birth, gender with a small g to gender with a capital G. All right, yes, that is under field names and data types. Now, you can also filter, all right? If you wanted only the males, you can select male or female. Let's check this. You can see it filters it to only males. And you can see it keeps track of what you are doing. So if you do not want this step, you can always come here and apply steps and delete this. All right, very good. So the next thing that we're going to do, right? You can actually transform some of these text values. So this function comes out, let's say, for example, we wanted maybe for gender to be M, like male to be M and female to be F. So what you can do is to highlight or just go to that cell that has your desired text like this, right click, all right, and select replace values. All right, so wherever we're going to have male, okay, let me just maybe start with female and select female, less values. And so every time we see female, we'll substitute with F. All right, and then you can say, okay. And it's going to look at every instance of the word female and it will replace it with F. The same thing can also be done for male, where we can say replace values. Wherever you have male, substitute with M and select OK. Very good. And you can see now you have male, female, and so on and so forth. All right. Now you can also tab here. You have this option here that says replace values. All right. So replace values here allows you to replace certain items here. Like you can say for every instance of M, we replace with the text male. All right. Select OK. And you can see it does that. Still highlighting this, you can still come here and say replace value. And then for every instance of F, we replace with female and then okay. And you can see that's how you're able to transform different text types. Now, the other one is all right. So if you wanted maybe to check, now you can see we have 33 columns. Sometimes it's not easy to check on all the columns. So is there an automated way whereby I can tell Power BI to just try and determine the data types? Yes. For the entire data set, yes. Just Control plus A to highlight every row in this, and then under home here, just switch to where we have transform. All right, and then under any column here, this portion here, find where you have a data type. Below it, you should be able to see detect data type. Just click on detect data type, and it will try and establish all the data types that are within your data set. Okay, now whenever you see this, you can see some are empty, some are so where you have this field is where it shows you how complete your data is, all right, in terms of date of birth. So we have 611 which are valid and 389 which are empty. So we have 389 farmers who have not given their dates of birth, all right? So that is it. Good. Now, when it comes to text transformation, all right? So in Excel, you'll actually write formulas for this if you're not using Power Query. I usually like to use Power Query even in Excel, right? So we're going to go into, like, let's say we have marital status. There are times you want, we have this transform. You have lowercase. If you wanted to change it into a lowercase, you can select this lowercase and it will change everything inside here into lowercase. Let's just look at it. All right, there it is. And you can also change everything here. Just click on the field header here or the column header, right click and select transform. All right, you can see you can also change here also the data type from here. All right, so transform here, I'll select maybe uppercase. Right, it changes everything to uppercase. All right, and then I can also decide I want to capitalize each word. All right, there we are. Okay, now you go on like that until I can switch this to district, give it parish proper names. Right, I think this one okay, no need to change anything there. Right, education level, we have tier. Access to water for farming is already there. I think from here it's quite clear. There. So for numbers, you assign either a decimal data type, like this one is a farm size, so you can go with the decimal. And then main crop plants, of course, we are expecting only whole numbers, so you can put whole numbers here. Number of productive plants, this one is going to be whole numbers. And then these are actually things that you can calculate and measure. So productive here are still going to be whole numbers. All right, so having said that, the next thing you'll want to look at is that sometimes when you are actually loading data into your database, sometimes it will come in this fashion. You can see it's saying column 1, column 2. This is under navigation here. And then you can see it's treating like it's assuming that the column headers are part of the data. So how do we resolve this inside Power Query? So the way you resolve this is to come to this icon here. You can see at the corner here, we have this table icon, all right? Just select it and pick use first row as headers, all right? So when you click use first row as headers, what it does, is going to make those ones to be the headers, All right. Yes, you can see. So this is how you resolve such things. All right. Moving on. So we have we had these other options here, like under here, pest and diseases. All right. You can see this is a select multiple question here. All right. It is dependent. We have yes and no. And then in here, we have different options. We have those ones that are only caterpillar. We also have those ones that are coffee berry disease. And then we have coffee berry borer. And we have coffee berry borer, comma, coffee stem borer, comma. And then we also have coffee stem borer and white borer. So you can see we have different combinations of this. And the same thing also goes for fertilizers, all right? Fertilizers, all right? Let's see. Yes, you can see we have different combinations. So these actually select multiple questions, all right? And under select multiple questions, usually stored inside all of them are bundled into one column. All right. So depending with the platform that you're working with, there are those which will just bundle everything in here, and there are those that are going to split these columns. All right. So how do we go about it? So here's how you go about it. Now, for example, organic fertilizer, the way it is. So what you can do, because this is the main table, all right, we don't get the main table. What we do, there are different ways we can achieve this, all right? So the first one will be to duplicate this column, all right? And the way we are going to do it, I know most of you are used to just splitting it on the same table, but when you are building your data model, this is how you do it, is to extract a table, all right? Is to extract a table. And if you do not know how to extract this table, there are different ways you can achieve this. You can use M-code to extract the contents of this table. For example, like I have it in here. Right click this, and then we have the advanced editor. Okay, so what you can do is to highlight everything like this, Control C, and then you can close this. And then the next thing you can do is to come under Home and select all right, so we have seen that the use of organic fertilizer here, whereby you have to choose yes or no, okay? And then it has a follow-up question here that says, you stipulate or you specify what type of organic fertilizer is being used, all right? We have seen that this is made up of multiple select questions which are actually bundled into one column. For some reason, it has not been able to extract this into individual columns. So we're going to see how we can actually use Power Query to actually extract this and be able to split it and then unpivot it, the table, and then link it back to this main table for our data model and analysis. So what is the first step? The first step is that this select multiple question column is going to constitute a table on its own. All right, an extracted table. So for us to be able to link it to the specific farmers and districts and these other dimensions, we are going to link it. We're going to track it using the farmer code. All right. So we're going to get the farmer code together with the column. So we're going to extract the farmer code and the organic fertilizer column. Now, there are two ways you can do this. The first one is to duplicate your table, all right, and then just get rid of what you don't need and only remain with the two. Like, for example, we can say we need the farmer code. I'll come here and say choose columns. And then I'll say for this second one, I'm going to choose only 2 columns. Let's see how to go about it. So here we are. I'm going to pick farmer code, and then we can say organic fertilizer. All right, it is here. So I'll pick this and then select OK. And now you can see we end up with 2 columns. Now this one is very good. The only problem is that it's going to make your table to be your database or dataset to be your Power BI dataset to be very bulky. So we do not want to have repetition. So the best way that we recommend this is to extract it using the mcode function. So I'm going to first delete this. And then we'll come here under new source. I'll select a blank query. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do, we can call this organic fertilizer. All right. Organic fertilizer. Now, what is the source? So here under the source tab, I'm going to reference this table here. So I'll just say farmer DB, and you can see it's here. Just select it like that and hit enter. All right, you now have your farmer DB. All right, the next thing is to, so this table is going to be interdependent. It's going to depend on this farmer DB. So this farmer DB is only going to be loaded once and not twice, like the way you would have had it with the duplicate table. The next thing is to come here under applied steps and right click here and say insert step after. All right, so in here, I'm going to, I can just, I'll say the next step is to get our tables, all right? So we have an mcode function here called table select columns. So I'll pick this select columns, table select columns. What am I picking? I'm going to pick it from the source. Currently here, the source is this farmer DB. So here I'll just type source. Right. So it's a dynamic way of just tracking what changes are occurring in the under farmer DB. So comma, and then we want to do these curly brackets. All right. So curly brackets will help us just determine what we want to pick. All right. So the first column is going to be farmer code like this, and then a comma. All right, and then we reference the organic fertilizer column. So organic fertilizer like that, and then we can hit enter. Or can just click on this tick sign, right? Now you can see it gets you the same results, but now this one is very light and it's dependent and it's directly linked to this farmer DB, all right? So in here, I'll just say, we can rename this, I'll just rename this, I'll say extracted columns. Like that. Right now, after that, the next thing for us to do is to split this. All right, we want to split this into individual columns so that we're able to get the different combinations. All right, so for this, I'll just say highlight this column the way it is, and under the home tab, you can use split column by delimiter, or you can just right click on this column header and select select the split column option and select by delimiter. All right. Now I want you to take note that we are using the comma separated. So under our this pop-up box that comes here or window, we are going to define the delimiter. So our delimiter is comma. So from this drop-down arrow, you can select comma. All right. If you are using other custom delimiters, you can just come and select this that says custom, and then you can define your delimiter here. All right, whether it's a symbol or whatever it is. So I'll just go with comma for now, and then I'll not change anything. Just click on OK. And there, you can see now it gets this into three columns. All right, into three columns. So after this, we have organic fertilizer, organic fertilizer, organic fertilizer. So there are three columns that are here. So the next thing that you can do here is to right click to just come and select farmer code. So after you split, we are going to transform this, all right, by using the unpivot technique so that all these can be packaged back into a single column, right? So for this, I'll just highlight farmer code, and then I'll select and pivot other columns. So I want it to be able to unpivot this. So you can either select them like this, and then select and pivot columns, or the second one, if you're going to have it in a dynamic way, is for you to just select the farmer code and tell Power Query to unpivot any other column that will be generated. So we say unpivot other columns like that. And now you have attribute and value. All right. At this point, this is the organic fertilizer. So we're going to change this to organic fertilizer like that. All right. For here, you can give it any name or you can still remove it. Now, with this, we are good to go. Now, the same thing can also be done for, we had pest and diseases, all right? We have pest and diseases. So we also need to do pest and diseases, and the steps are the same. So once more, blank query. I'd say this one is equals to farmer DB like that. Tick. Can rename this to pest and diseases. Then under here, applied steps, select insert step after. From here, we are going to just reference the table select column, table.select columns, this one. We want to reference the source. And then inside the curly brackets, we're going to call the farmer code. All right, so that comma. Then we call the pest and diseases like that. Hit enter, and there you have your columns. So just like the other approach, we'll select split column by delimiter. And then here, I'll change this to comma. Okay. There. Select farmer. Now, if you do not want to lose how if you do not want to lose this column, a simple way will just to duplicate this column and say I'll pick duplicate column like this. All right. Now, once I have it like this, I'll now come and say split. there. All right. So from here, I'll just highlight these two and tell it to unpivot the other columns. All right. Yes. This doesn't seem right. Here, right click and pick split column, the delimiter, and insert. Here, we're going to change this to comma. All right, each occurrence of the delimiter, and then select OK. All right, I think this one is proper. Let's look. Good. This one is proper. All right, so from here, good. So we have this, and then you can call this paste. Right. You can choose whether you want to get rid of this or you can just leave it the way they are, but just make sure to be able. We call this original, like that. Now, once this is done, the next thing is just, now we have done everything. We have processed the way we like to process this. We've seen how to change data types. We've seen how to rename. We've seen how to split columns. We've seen how to unpivot columns. The next thing, I think at this point, you don't need to do any other thing, all right? So we just simply just close and apply.